we need to decide if the pain that they are feeling is acute or chronic. Why? Because we treat them differently, okay? We take care of them differently, very differently from each other. So, I'm going to share with you my screen again. And this is just a table to help us recognize pain, alright? We're going to go through it. Acute pain is pain which happens immediately, right after an injury. If I am walking and I fall, I will start feeling pain. If I am preparing food, I'm using a knife, I'm cutting food, and I cut my finger, I will feel pain, alright? That is called acute pain, pain which starts immediately. So the onset of pain is immediate, it's sudden. If I ask you what happened when you started feeling the pain, you will be able to tell me, you will remember, it's very fresh, it's very new, alright? You will know when the pain started and how it started. That is called acute pain. And if I tell you to describe it, if I ask you what does it feel like, okay, how are you feeling this pain? So the characteristics of this pain, what does it feel like? You will usually tell me that it feels sharp, localized, and it's also radiating to some other areas. So if I ask you how it is feeling and where you're feeling it, you will be able to tell me exactly where it's coming from. If you twist your ankle, for example, you will be able to tell me, yes, it's the inside of my ankle, it's the outside of my ankle, it's the front, the back. You know exactly where the damage is. Sometimes it might feel like the whole leg is hurting, alright? So the pain is moving to other areas, but you know where it's coming from. If you pick the muscle right in your back, you know exactly where it's coming from, alright? You know which muscle you pull. If I look at the signs and symptoms, okay, symptoms are the signs I can see in your body, alright? If you have some illness, for example, if I catch the flu, I have a cold, what are the symptoms? The symptoms are a runny nose, fever, alright, itchy eyes, sneezing, those are called symptoms. So the symptoms of acute pain are usually hyperactive, the autonomic response, such as swelling, redness, bruising. We call this the autonomic response, the automatic response of the body to injury. It is usually hyperactive, so we see a lot of it. We see a lot of swelling, we see bruising, we see redness, okay, the signs of inflammation. So we see a lot of signs. The autonomic response is hyperactive, okay? If there's fresh injury, fresh trauma, I'll call it. If you twist your ankle, it will swell up, it will become red, it will become bruised, okay? And the emotional response is usually quite restless, anxious, alert, agitated. So somebody who just had an injury now is usually quite alert, okay? They're restless, they're anxious, okay? So they're going to be quite on edge. So that is what acute pain is and what it looks like. It is pain which happens right after an injury, right? You say pain which is less than 3 months old. You know how it started, where you're feeling it. If I tell you to describe it, you will be able to describe it and tell me exactly where it's coming from, right? Which muscle, which bone, which area. It usually is accompanied by signs of injury, so swelling, bruising, redness. I will be able to see a response of the body to that injury, inflammation. And emotionally, the person tends to be quite alert, agitated, restless, right, depending on how large or small the damage is. Now, I said there are 2 types, acute and chronic. What is chronic pain? Alright? Chronic pain is pain which has been there for a long period of time. It has been there for more than 3 months, we say between 3 to 6 months, okay? So sometimes it has been there for years, 5, 6, 7 years, okay? A lot of years. a long time. So if I ask you how it started, you might remember. Some people might not even remember how it started, might not even remember when exactly it started. Okay, it's been such a long time ago. So it started a long time ago. If I ask you to describe it, what does it feel like? You will usually describe it as dull, achy, okay? Heavy or tired, persistent. Persistent means that it doesn't go away easily. You try a lot of different things and it stays there. You try a lot of different medication and it stays there. That is what persistent means. And diffused means that it's usually a large area. If it's the ankle, if it's chronic ankle pain, it's usually the whole ankle which hurts. If it's lower back pain, it's usually not just one muscle or one joint, but a whole area, okay? So that is how you describe chronic pain, alright? Now, if I look at the symptoms, okay, if I'm looking at the autonomic response of the body, you will realize that usually there are no symptoms such as swelling, there is no redness, no bruising, okay? And because the autonomic response is usually absent. If I look at the emotional response, or if I look at the body, I will not see any signs of damage or injury, okay? Because now it's very old. And if I look at the emotional response of the person, they are usually very flat and tired, alright? So they are usually depressed, they are tired, they have been living with this pain for a long period of time, they have been trying a lot of different things, nothing has worked, okay? So they are usually very reluctant to do something. They will want to stay in bed, they will want to stay on the chair, they don't want to move, alright? So the person will behave very differently than somebody who is in acute pain. Yes, I see a hand which is raised.
Yes. I just want to ask about the chronic pain. Because, is it also called chronic pain if you move something like, for example, the shoulder? If you move a certain way, like if you move it back, you feel the pain. But if you don't move the hand backwards, it's normally not, you don't feel the pain. But once you move it backwards, or in a certain way, you feel the pain. Is it cold?
No, usually that is not chronic pain, because that is related to a movement. So you're either stretching something, you are either crushing something, alright? You do the movement, you feel the pain immediately. You've been probably suffering with this for a long period of time, yes. But it's only felt when you do the movement. Usually there's some form of weakness or some form of entrapment of a nerve or a joint, alright? And usually chronic pain does not make a lot of sense. You tend to feel it mostly when you are sad, when you are stressed. So you don't feel it mostly when there's movement, but you tend to feel it mostly when you are feeling unwell, emotionally unwell.
So it's considered as acute.
It's usually considered as acute on chronic. So it's a condition which has been there for a long period of time, but it flares up. Like, for example, when you have arthritis. Arthritis is a chronic condition, but sometimes you get a flare-up. It swells up, it inflames.
Okay.
And you have acute, alright? So it's a chronic condition which sometimes flares up, sometimes you feel the pain and then it goes away. You feel the pain and then it goes away, alright? That's called acute on chronic. It's another type. It's when you have acute type of pain in a chronic condition, a condition which has been there for a long period of time. We have another question. Madam, headaches is part of chronic pain. Now, headaches is a very big umbrella term. You need to find out why you have the headache. Is it a headache? Is it a migraine? Is the headache coming because there are blood pressure problems, because there are hormonal changes, because there are vision problems? Is it coming because there is muscle tension in your neck? So when you say headache, somebody who suffers from frequent headaches, it can be coming from a lot of different causes. Alright? It can be chronic and it can also be acute, depending on what is the cause. So if you are suffering from, or somebody is suffering from, repeated headaches, it is very important to check out what is causing the headache first. You might find a cause, a physical cause. So in that case, usually it will be caused by that, triggered by that cause. Or else, yes, it can be a chronic type of pain, but you need to find out first what is causing it. I hope that answers your question, Raju. Alright?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So, there are, as we said, majorly two types of pain, acute and chronic, and now we also mentioned the acute on chronic. It is when something is in between, alright? So acute is pain which you feel right after an injury, right after the damage, the trauma. Alright, so there's usually swelling, redness, bruising. You know exactly where it's coming from, and you know exactly why you're feeling it. That's why I told you, if you're moving your shoulder back, you know exactly why you're feeling it, and you know when you're feeling it. Alright? And it's sharp. You know where it is. Okay? Chronic pain is usually there for a long period of time. It's very dull. You don't know exactly where it's coming from. The person would be feeling very tired, okay, depressed usually, and a lot of things are not working well. Why am I mentioning this, alright? Because we have to treat them very differently. Remember when I mentioned the pain pathway, and we said that basically pain is caused by the brain. It receives information from the body about some form of damage in our body, and it will start to produce pain. And now I will explain better why I said usually chronic pain, you feel it mostly when you are sad or upset rather than when there's damage. So this is one of the most important things I need you to learn today, right? In acute pain, if we look at what is the